Hi, it's Foxy here, obviously. Talking to you about Foxglove Dweller on the Threshold performance today, so I'm gonna get to it. I managed to acquire some footage of Foxglove's performance, so I've overlaid it with the actual music that I created, because on the audio of the video it was a little bit off, so what you're hearing now is the full track I made, and shortly you'll see the filmed performance. I wanted to tell you a bit about the project first, so if you want to skip ahead past my talking, that's tough, please don't. It's very interesting, I assure you. Change your life. When I finalised a few of the main concepts about Foxglove, the character, such as where he came from, what he represents, and what's happening to him, I also managed to name the first part of this project. Dweller on the Threshold refers to a concept in the occult which has sort of leaked into some aspects of contemporary culture. If you dig around, you'll find them quite easily. Van Morrison did a good song about them. The term's scattered around, which is lucky really, as I wanted Foxglove to be a non-human, non-terrestrial entity. So it follows that his origins would be ancient, possibly apocryphal, and a bit hazy. So Foxglove is the Dweller on the Threshold. The term was mentioned first by a bloke called Edward Bulwer Lytton in his novel Zanoni. In it, the main character meets this strange and frightening being. And I'm going to read you a little bit from the book. Its form was veiled as the face, but the outline was that of a female. Yet it moved not as the ghosts that simulate the living. It seemed rather to crawl as some vast misshapen reptile, and pausing at length it cowered beside the table which held the mystic volume, and again fixed its eyes through the filmy veil. "Thou hast entered the immeasurable region," it said. "I am the Dweller on the Threshold. What wouldst thou with me? Silent? Dost thou fear me?" Yeah, in my experience, ancient beings can be quite touchy when you disturb them. Rudolf Steiner wrote of the Dweller on the Threshold, he said, "My threshold is fashioned out of all the timidity that remains in thee, out of all the dread of strength needed to take responsibility for all thy thoughts and actions." Aleister Crowley, occultist, witch, visionary, and bigoted trust fund kid, wrote of his experience with Choronzon, whom he termed the Dweller in the Abyss, and for him the Dweller was the last great barrier between him and knowledge of the divine, this ultimate confrontation with the gatekeeper of enlightenment. I also wanted to talk about, very cautiously, about Hermetic Kabbalah. I say cautiously for any number of reasons, mainly because I'll spend the rest of my life exploring Kabbalah, and perhaps only begin to fully appreciate it. I'm not qualified to fit anything into a 10-minute video. And also it depends how you approach Kabbalah and what it all means. Because if you look at it from an experiential point of view of magic or religion, it's different from an academic or theoretical standpoint. Both are useful. I'm not having a go. So anyway, if you look at the Tree of Life between Bima and Hokmah, just under Keter, you'll either see a gap or a space or a sort of faded out circle, and that is the 11th non-Sephiroth Darth, which is situated right in the middle of the abyss. The Ataro association being, of course, the High Priestess, the veil, the hidden, separating the supernal triad and the subsequent manifestation of the universe. So, no pressure. It's all very wordy, but if I keep it brutally simple, Darth is in the abyss. Darth is Hebrew word for knowledge. Steiner's Dweller was composed of all the bad shit, the shadow self within. Crowley's was perhaps a separate, distinct entity. And in Kabbalah, it's an experience, a process, the Dweller on the Threshold. It's what I said about depending on how you view Kabbalah, because I don't believe the Tree of Life is meant to be viewed as a linear progression up or down. It's a holistic diagram. So, with all that in mind, and obviously dealt with a lot more in depth than I've just covered in the last few moments, I had Foxglove, this entity whose origins are as subjective as the minds of those who might care to theorise. And after many hours creating the music, creating the costume and trying not to impale myself with the spikes, I got practising. And so Foxglove Dweller on the Threshold shows this first point of this entity manifesting itself into a physical form, and realizing with horror that he is subject to all the limitations that we experience as material beings. So it's the first in several parts. It's taken a while to get to this point, so I'm just going to let you have a little look at the video. Here it is. Thanks.